How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I am doing something that I've never done before, and it includes a little bit of research, but I am investing in Planet 13 Holdings, and I've decided this in the last 20 minutes to a half hour. And this might come as a surprise for some of you because literally just this week, actually, I talked about Planet 13, and I talked about how I wasn't going to invest in them probably for the next year or two, but I thought that maybe down the line I could invest in them. And if you don't know about them, they are in the MJ space. We'll just call it that because I don't want to get demonetized, but they do high-end MJ for top-of-the-line consumers, and they have a kind of a place where you can go in and buy at MJ. You can try different stuff out. As I understand, it's pretty cool. It's down in Las Vegas. But the reason I'm buying it is different than you might expect. So with this stock, it's a very small market cap stock. It's right around 100 to 200 million, I believe, and I'll show it in a second. But the big thing that drew me to it was I saw Financial Education, who is a large YouTuber, make another video on it. And I'm not doing it because of just investing in the stock because he invested in it. What I want to do is, since it's such a small market cap stock, I want to see whether him just saying that he's going to invest in it will drive the price up. So I'm going to go through that. I'm going to talk about the stock itself and whether it's a good stock even just on its own, and talk about how some of the influence that these large YouTubers can have on a small market cap stock. So if you like this kind of stuff, please leave a like button. Please go down and subscribe and tell me your comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about this. And, don't give me too much hate. I'm not trying to ride the wave of Jeremy from Financial Education, really. I just want to show you what I'm thinking and what I want to do going forward. So let's take a look. A couple weeks ago, Financial Education, or Jeremy, made a video on how he was buying $25,000 of a $1 stock. And if you don't know about him, he has 108,000 people that follow him on this account. And then he has 500,000 on his other stock market investing channel, which is just Financial Education. He has a wide audience of people following him. And after he made this video, and I checked, it was on June 2 he made that video. So June 2, he made it during the night, and then it came up the next day, and the stock increased dramatically. So it went up 26%, and it's gone up since then. It's gone up about 3.5%, and it's down a little bit over the last couple of days just because the whole market's been down. But it's quite amazing that the timing happens that he invested in the stock, and then it shoots up. And he talks about in this video how he's not going to sell it. And he goes through it that he really thinks that it's going to 10x or a 100x in the next 5 to 10 years. And I've researched it and kind of taken a look at it. And when I talked about it in my video, I just talked about how I wasn't going to invest in it because I wanted to see it go down the line a little bit and become a company that becomes profitable. However, after seeing him post another video about it, talking about how he put another $5,000 in it, it made me really think, okay, if he's got 500,000 people that follow him, let's just say 500,000 instead of 600,000, let's say all of them invest $100 on average. So he has 500,000 people that invest $100 on average. Of course, some people might not invest that much. Some might invest 40,000 like he did, or 25,000. Well, let's say they average $100 in the stock. Well, 500,000 times 10 is 5 million. 500,000 times 100 then is 50 million. So if 50 million people invest in the stock, it goes up dramatically, which is kind of what we saw here, right? So it went up 25% overnight, and you don't get that from nothing, right? So I looked and really no news came out overnight there. It just shot up, and the only thing I can think of is that he did a video on it. So as we can see, he has a wide audience. It could push up the stock. And then I also thought, okay, he has multiple videos on it now. He also does portfolio updates. So he talks about different stocks in his portfolio, how they've done, what he's going to do with them, what he sees for the future with them. He's going to have constant exposure with the stock. So people are going to talk about it. People are going to look at it. People are going to look at investing in it. If it goes up 2 times, let's say, in the next year, and the general market goes up 10%, and he says, hey, I still think it's going to 10x in the next 5 years, a ton of people are going to be drawn to it until he sells it and stops talking about it. So I really want to invest some money. I don't want to invest too much that it's a really risky play, but I'm going to throw in $100 in the stock. And he does go over some bullish points for it. So right here in this first video, he talks about how they have a lot of growth that they can have. They are trying to open 5 to 10 stores in the next 5 years, and then 10 to 20 stores in the next 10 years. And I think they could do that. They also talk about some different comparable store sales. They talk about how they could increase their revenue with delivery and different brands and stuff like that. So I think it has some legs behind it. But if we look at the video he put out today, he also makes a couple other good points that he thinks that they're going to be able to legalize in the next little while. So he goes over the reasons why he thinks that they're going to legalize. And I think that he made some good points here. The first reason is just that there are jobs needed, right? So everything going on right now, people need jobs. They can get jobs in this industry if they legalize it. Also, we really need tax revenue with all the stimulus that's being provided. We need some way to make that up. And he says that tax revenue is how we could do that. We could make it through legalizing it, and that way we can actually take advantage, because companies are still making money in the sector right now, but it's really hard to pay taxes on it. So that is one thing there. And then they also talk about police reform and prison reform. So right now, there are a lot of people that are being arrested for this, for MJ, let's say. And they really don't have to be arrested. I mean, they clog up the police stations, they clog up the prisons. You know, it's just not really that big a deal for the most part, unless you get caught anymore. They're talking about just stopping that. It costs a lot of money to sentence these people and put them in jail. So that could save the government some money. And then there's just a changing mindset too, he mentions. Really, back in the day, MJ used to be really frowned upon. People used to think you were a bum if you smoked it. They thought it was a pathway or a gateway drug. But now, it's really not that big a deal. A lot of people think of it very similar to just drinking like a beer or something. So he goes through those things. The second point that he makes is that they have a lot of room to grow in consumer packaging. So these types of brands are bigger than ever. Think about different companies that you buy from now, whether it's like Cheetos or Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all those types of brands. If you can package what you have, you can make a lot more money. It's a lot more accessible, and people can just buy it and do it whenever they want then. So there's a lot of room for growth there if it's legalized, and he thinks that they are going to be a company that can take advantage of that. But if we just look at their income statement real quick, they have revenues that have increased a lot recently. So 2016, 1.5 million in revenue. A year later, they 6x'd that to 9 million. A year later, they over 2 times that. And then a year later, they've tripled it. So they're growing revenue a lot. They're being able to just grow a lot in general. Their net income really isn't changing too much. It's negative every year, but they're just trying to get up to size. And they have some negative EPS, but I think that they have good places that they can go in the future. If we look at their balance sheet, they have a good amount of short-term assets, so cash and short-term equivalents, 13.9 million. Total receivables, about 100,000, so they have 14 million there. And then if we just look at their liabilities, they have about 14 million in current liabilities. So they're at about a 1-to-1 ratio, which is pretty good for one of these companies. I think that they'll be able to grow a lot. They might have to issue more shares or just pick up more debt to be able to expand, but I think that's something that they can do. I think that they will turn profitable here, and they'll be able to grow. And I just decided, like I said, I wasn't excited to buy the stock until recently, but then I kind of made the switch that I'm going to do this as a little bit of a test to see how big YouTubers can kind of, I don't want to say manipulate, because I wouldn't want them to get in trouble with the SEC or anything. I don't think that's their goal. I think they're just explaining what they're doing and just want to be honest. But I'm going to see how what they say affects the stock and just see how it goes going forward, because like I said, there's going to be a lot of exposure and a lot of eyes on this stock and a lot of wealthy people looking at it. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys want to buy some of the stock and you want to get some free stocks in the meantime, you can go down there to the WeBull link and you can get 2 free stocks through WeBull. If you want to use Robinhood, you can use Robinhood. There are different other platforms down there too, like M1. But let me know what you guys think below. Is Planet 13 a stock that you are buying? Is it a stock that you wouldn't touch with the 10-foot pole? Okay, so after 20 minutes of trying to buy the stock, I found out, of course, it's not on the New York Stock Exchange, but I've never been able to, or I've never tried to buy stocks before that weren't on there. So it took some finding out, but I found out that you can do it through Fidelity. I don't have any referrals or anything for them, and they're not an affiliate, but Robinhood, M1, and WeBull don't allow you to buy Planet 13 at this time. So I went through Fidelity, and I had to put an amount in there, so I had to put a limit amount on there, so I put $2.50 per share. I didn't think they would go up that much just from this video being put up. Hopefully it doesn't go up more than 50% tomorrow morning. But I put in an order for 40 shares at $2.50 a share. So of course, if it's only $2 a share, then I'm only spending $40. But I threw in some more money into that account that I don't use very often, and I'll let you know and I'll update you on how it goes in the future.